Hey, I'm right back with another video. It's almost 7 o'clock. It's 6:52 p.m. It is April 21st. It is Tuesday evening, and I am kind of winding down from the evening. I had a box when I first moved in here, and I realized that I had more things, more old resumes and job requisitions that I had printed out looking for work to no avail, of course. And so I'm like, okay, I'm getting rid of those and trying to make room for whatever. But anyway, I just tired of having resumes and stuff like that stacked around. I thought I got rid of them, but then after I took them to the shredder the first time, I started accumulating more because I have to print my documents. Some of them I do. Anyway, these people have wasted my time, so I'm going to move on from that. But I was thinking today about family values and how I guess people think that I don't have family values, and that's not necessarily true. Now, obviously, my ex family, who I do not associate with, and I don't want to, but anyway, when anyone, and I'm not trying to bash, I'm really not. I'm trying to keep this video like just kind of express my thoughts without dredging up people that I choose to forget. But I was thinking about, how I believe that families should be established if they are established well, and what would promote growth and overall well-being to an individual. And I think that family visions or goals should be shared, but with the understanding that not everybody is going to share those values, okay? Like most people raise their children like when they're 18 years old. This is what I was told by my mother, okay? And it was understood by my mother and my father. But once a child becomes 18 years old, they're on their own, okay? Unless, of course, you're living with them in that house. Like, you have to abide by their rules. If you're somebody who likes going out a lot, at night, and your family said, well, since you're living here, you have to be in at 10 o'clock. Well, that's their house. You have to follow that. But when you're 18 years old, you're out the door, you're living on your own. This was what was told to me. So this is the way I've been living my life. So when I think of family values, most people have like perhaps a spiritual tradition, whether that be Lutheran or Catholic or, Methodist or whatever type thing. And this is what you raise your children with. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And there are sometimes, people choose as they get to be older that they choose to leave that particular group, maybe because they feel as though they've come to a different understanding, or it's just not right for them, and people feel slighted, and that's something that has to be worked out with each member of the family, because I know it can be extremely disappointing when you find out your child doesn't want to have the same path as you do. Growing up, we didn't have a path. we didn't have a path. My family studied with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was little. As a teenager, I chose to study with Jehovah's Witnesses. We did go to a Baptist church for a very short period of time. I mean, maybe 1 to 2 years as I was growing up, but we weren't raised religious. That was not something that was instilled in us. We didn't practice any particular religious customs. We did pray, like, over Christmas dinner or something like that. Like, I think a lot of people do that. But as far as like having religious views and standards, we didn't have those, okay? Also, I would say my dad was old-fashioned, and they weren't really necessarily based on religious type principles, but they were more based on views, I guess, that were really popular or understood in his day and age. Like women wearing dresses and stuff like that was normal to my dad. And that was like, but I live in the modern age, okay? So obviously, and I did wear pants when I was growing up, okay? My mom used to pick out pant outfits for me. I don't think my dad liked pants, but it was just like something that it was like, if he ruled the world, that this is the way it was going to be, but I guess he just kind of overlooked a lot of things. But still, so I'm not rebelling, and that's what I get. I get that feeling from, and I know this issue is over and dead and everything, but it's like I get this sense of where people feel as though I was rebelling against something, and I didn't rebel against anything. I didn't rebel against anything or anyone, nor did I go against anybody in authority because, like I said, I had no idea that these people put themselves on a pedestal and thought that they were authority of my life, and I do resent that. I do resent that. I do understand that they thought that something was off with me. Obviously, there's nothing wrong or off with me at all. Um, it's just that I have different views than they do, which I have a right to, and I just see things differently, and this is how I choose to live my life. Um, and I personally, in my offspring, I feel as though he has his own life to live, and I believe that you can raise or give your children certain principles and ideas, okay? And he can either choose to accept those or he can abandon them. The thing is that what's most important is to get through this life and do so in a way where you don't harm other people and be a good person. And some people have their guidelines as to what and define what what good people are. I will say that I hope that my son never abuses a woman ever, in any way, shape, or form. And I do want him to understand that this sort of thing is wrong. And that's it. Also, I hope that he is good to other people who are deserving of his kindness and that sort of thing. I'm not somebody who wants to place my desires and my goals on other people, mainly because I understand some people come from different experiences. Like, I've come from a different experience than my son. Like, for example, I was raised with siblings. I had to deal with bullying. I had to deal with a lot of things that my son wasn't. And I never had like what they call established roots, like where some people, like for example in this town, are still in communication with the people they grew up with. Some people have known each other in their community for a very long time. I don't have that. I don't have that stable type foundation, mainly because of the things that have occurred in my life, that prevented me from doing that. And so everybody has to take certain things into consideration. So yeah, I do believe that families should be structured. I think if people are going to be together, then there should be a clear understanding of how things are going to be in that household. And with that said, I have, I'm doing things in my mind mentally to try to deal with the trauma and all of this stuff. And it's very severe. What I had to deal with and what I'm dealing with, how I have to face my future, it's very traumatizing, extremely traumatizing. But when you go no contact, it's important because now some people think it's drastic and they don't understand it. They think, well, that's their family. Sometimes you can't love people, you cannot love them. And when I was younger, I had love for my family because I thought that they were supportive of me, even though I knew that there was issues or conflicts. But I don't. I don't. To me, some people can bring nothing but terror to you, so you feel like this need to be away from them. And in some cases, that's the best thing to do. For people who don't understand scapegoating families, narcissistic abuse, look it up, and they will always tell you the best thing to do is go no contact, and that's what I've done. The last time I saw my mother, it was in January, and I felt as though, that was a defining moment that made it very clear that something was wrong, that there was some sort of brainwashing or whatever going on, and but it made it clear to me, like, how deep this indoctrination goes. And many families get torn apart over things that mine was torn apart when I was first born. Okay, like there was already this abusive atmosphere around me, but for some people, Like, for example, if you were raised in a certain cultural background or tradition or something where expectations were placed on you and you were fully aware of certain expectations being placed on you. Like, you grew up, like, for example, in a Pentecostal home. Okay, not all Pentecostals the same, but some, let's just say, very strict one. And, you turned 18 and you decided to do something, like maybe you went to college. Okay, some don't, some get married and whatever, and whatever. And so they decided that they want to leave this sort of religious structure and they want to do something on their own. Then that's a problem. You know what I mean? Because their family is expecting them to do something, and it was understood from the time that they were younger that this is our family clan, these are our family values, and we would like it if you stayed within those family values. Those things were never communicated to me. Okay, and I obviously, as an adult, don't agree with their values. I don't agree with them, and so I feel betrayed. I feel what's the word for it? Threatened. I feel abused. I feel, I just feel so many different emotions that go through my mind on a daily basis over this issue, especially how extreme this whole thing became. So anyway, yeah, I do think that if you're one of those people who want to get married and settle down and have children and all that stuff, if that's what you want to do, then definitely you should be on the same page. Make sure you understand everything. Don't let other people manipulate things behind the strings. Keep your relationship to yourself. It's not a public issue. It's not this issue. It's about you and this particular person. And if their family is involved in it, then that needs to be communicated right away. It needs to be communicated, understood, and then you can make your decision. Okay? This should have never, ever happened. Ever happened. And it's one of those lessons, you gotta mark down and kind of learn from, that what happened to me was extremely traumatizing, terrorizing, life-threatening, and extremely demoralizing. And, for people who do raise your family, I'm not going to tell you what to do one way or the other, but make sure those goals or those things are well communicated. And if that happens, if your child decides to, well, you know what, here's the thing. If your child decides not to live your lifestyle, then you do have to understand that they're an adult. They're 18, over the age of 18 years old, and legally they have the right to do whatever they want to. Okay? And it's heartbreaking sometimes if for some people who are really, really, especially if something's been going on in your house for generation after generation. I mean, I don't understand those sort of traditions because that's not from my life. That was never a part of my life. But for some people, I guess I can understand how that would be. You know what I mean? I can't understand it. But when you put things in place to try to prevent, block, or destroy a person's life because you don't understand it, what you have to understand is that's wrong. It's wrong by means of the law, by understanding the law. It is wrong. Your child is over the age of 18 and they legally have the right to make those decisions. And you can't force devotion. You can try to, but what you're doing is illegal. You're depriving people of their human rights. And, if you're trying to force someone in religion, come Judgment Day or whatever, God would know that the only reason why this particular person pretended to go through this whole rigmarole is because they wanted to keep peace in the family. That's not enough to get you into the kingdom of heaven. I can assure you of that. Okay, it's not. So you got to think about those sort of things. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. And also I want to clarify one thing. I'm never going to try to tell people what to do with their personal life because I believe everyone has the right to live their life as they want to. So if people think that I've ever come off to try to tell people how to live their life, that's not true. I'm just saying is this issue affected my life in a way where it was inappropriate and it was wrong and it was against my will, my rights, and completely devastated me. And because it affected me, that's the reason why I'm speaking out. Okay, I think people have the right to live their life however they want to. You raise your family however you want to. Each issue is, each person in this community has their own family, they have their own beliefs, and they have their own thing. And however you deal with those issues, if they ever come up, that's your issue, okay? But please learn from my issue, is what I'm saying, is that when you do things like you try to trap a person, prevent them, control their employment, control their marriage, control these sort of things, you are not only breaking the law, but you are destroying the person that you claim to love. You are destroying them from the inside out, and so that's all I'm going to say. How you handle that is your business. So I'm going to wrap up this video. I'll be back with another video some other time later. Take care. Bye-bye.